Hello and welcome to the Tuesday Night Music Show, or I don't know, maybe I should say welcome to a Tuesday Night Music Show. The Tuesday Night Music Show sounds a little presumptuous. I'm sure.
No, we bought the rights. No, my agent told me have the rights to say that.
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah.
Well,
Ira, Izzy's assistant, called me. Ira Greenblatt's called me today. He's Izzy Itzkwitz, my main agent's assistant.
Okay.
He said he had secured the rights, at least in Saipan, and I think Sri Lanka. But I'm
do
pretty
we now
sure
owe
that
him royalties? Like he secured them, so do we owe him royalties on this?
No, I believe it's going
10%.
to us.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a Sri Lanka and Saipan.
nice.
But I think the U.S. is right behind. So by the time this airs, we'll probably already have that all cleared. So go for it. Yeah, you're good.
Go for it.
You're good.
Well, whatever it is, welcome. I've been awake for about 15 minutes now. I took a nap, so forgive me if I'm a little.
I was waiting here like
unsharp,
25 hours
dull,
or something.
perhaps. Dull.
I'm a little bit like, I hope I can put a whole sentence together.
No, not that it matters, because our show's soon to be 2 weeks behind or something.
Yeah.
Really?
It is the week of Christmas.
Yes.
And you're probably
Happy
watching
holidays,
this
everybody.
like in the middle of February. So we're coming to you from the
We're
past.
not that far behind.
Happy Kwanzaa
We're a
and
week
Happy
behind.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's
to all of you.
Day. Yeah. Happy
We're
Flag
having a
Day.
wonderful spring.
Arbor
How's
Day.
that?
I think Arbor Day gets overlooked. Let's celebrate Arbor Day on the
Arbor
show as
Day,
well.
yes.
I think Arbor Day gets overlooked.
Whatever this happens to land on, happy that to you.
If this is February, happy Christmas and Merry Christmas to all of you in Canada, because I think they celebrate it a couple months later. So
There
I
you
think
go.
so. Yeah, they're on the metric system. It's
yeah. They're on the Mayan calendar as well.
right. Yeah. Damn metric system.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
How
Well,
did that not catch on?
I don't know. We're stubborn, I guess.
I guess.
So, what I wanted to talk about tonight is something that I think, Howie is in the middle of. Jay is no stranger to it.
Yep.
I've done it, and that is the
Porn.
big gig.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah. Well, I haven't done that. You and Howie have done that. I haven't done that.
As
But no,
Howie's T-shirt
actually,
says.
our gig
$20
is very similar. I'm going to be the tech and the operator.
Yeah.
Right. We'll talk
And
about
right now, today, I am, if I may do it in song, I'm seeing colors everywhere. In
Well,
her hair, she's a rainbow.
Oh,
Remember
wow.
that
You went there.
song, Rainbow? I'm
Yeah.
actually seeing in colors. I've been doing nothing but lighting for the past week, and I'm
Decided
having
to tap into the Rolling Stones for this.
no. It just came to me. I don't know, out of the blue. It just I'm like,
Yeah,
I
but
really
She's
am-
Rainbow's a Stone song, right?
Well, let me
Right,
back
yeah,
let me
from
back
the
you up
late,
just a
late
little.
60s.
Yeah.
But seriously, I'm thinking in colors right now. I'm actually thinking colors and color schemes and combinations and
Well,
Rain Man.
let's back him up a little bit, and just for those who don't know, who've been living under
Oh,
a
okay.
rock, tell them
Mhm.
what you're doing.
Eric from Good Guy Productions got a last minute gig, and it is for the Olympic trials, and it will be at the ski jump complex in Lake Placid, New York. And it will be a 3-day event.
Yep.
And it's at the same place where they do the ski jumps and the bobsleds and where they have all the refrigeration. And then at night, when they're done with that, it's dark and kind of dangerous to go down a hill, I guess. They're going to have a party, and they're going to have bands and a big 24 by 18 stage I'm lighting up for these bands. So he's doing the new video wall, which is huge, and he's doing live sound. So he was like, I can't do all three. He said, can you make it up here? Do it for me. You'll take half the stress out of me. And I said, yeah, I'll be there. So that's where I'm heading out tomorrow at 9 a.m.
So you're the grip, you're the lighting guy.
Soldier.
I'll be doing that. Yeah, I'll be doing the lighting for him. I actually designed the lights, and I'll be operating them. So it'll be a good time. And I didn't expect it at all. I really thought I would not be gigging until my first gig in April. But this is nice, and it's a nice trip, and it's. I feel really good about it. I mean, it's these kids with a dream, and I'm a little part of that. I'll make them happy for a little bit. Whether they go on and become a gold medalist, they'll always remember that.
Right. Well, it's a big gig. It's last minute.
Yeah, and it is big.
Jay is no stranger to this. Jay travels all over the U.S.
Yeah,
doing his thing for his other job that he has. I mean,
yes,
he doesn't need another job. This show is enough.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, the money he's getting paid.
Christmas bonus, please. Dewey Cheatham and Howe sent me a check. I don't think I can cash it, but I'll tell everybody because I think it's fair. I think full disclosure is only fair. The check is for $200,000. I'm pretty sure it's fake, but I'm just saying.
Right.
I at least have it.
Now, for those of you who don't know, and maybe have never watched the show before, don't know who we are, Jay also works for Pioneer DJ US.
Yes, he does.
And he is very instrumental in doing all the demonstrations, no matter where it is in the U.S. Jay is there. Jay is the guy who flies in town and handles it, whether it's for a music store or it's for some kind of festival or conference or whatever. Jay is the national demonstrator for Pioneer DJ USA.
I think he's actually the face of Pioneer myself.
I have heard that from people in the office.
When I think
seriously,
of Pioneer,
even the president's like, you're the face of the brand. I'm like,
yeah. I mean, you kind of be the brand ambassador, if you will.
A little bit. I think because I've been there second to Pulse. I've been there the longest.
Yeah, you've
been
I started
working with him
late 30s.
18 years ago.
Well, you know your product.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
You know your product.
I do.
You know, if you've ever watched the show before, Jay knows how to riff. So he can just kind of go on a topic.
Can you talk? Because I can talk.
They picked a good guy.
He can talk.
Now, my understanding is
I enjoy it because I think it's there's a lot of validation of being a DJ, and you do a gig, you do a wedding, you do whatever, and then at the end of it, you kind of walk away with that high.
Yes.
Of like, wow, what a great night. And you're like, just, oh, this is amazing. You get home, you can't go to bed, you can't get to sleep. And people are like, what's the big deal? I'm like, you know what? Aerosmith gets on stage at Madison Square Garden to 20,000 people and they kill it. They leave on that high. Well, guess what? I go to a wedding with 85 people and it's the same exact feeling.
Well, that's why that's why I'm doing the night drive again. This thing ends at 8. I'll hit the truck. I should be back home and in the chill here by 2 a.m. Eastern time. And
that's 6 hours though. That's a long.
It's actually 5 hours and 12 minutes. But I'm
that's so different.
I'm going to allow for like a pit stop for fuel and maybe a bathroom break.
It's just I drove famously. Well, and you'll see why. I left my father-in-law's place in 2006. I had to pick up things for my wife when her grandmother passed away, and he had these things. I got a minivan, flew from San Diego to Atlanta to Louisville, picked up the van one way, driving it to swing Temecula, California. And again, we're going 2006, so 16 years ago, which doesn't, and some people that's a long time. For us, it's not really that long. Like, it's not that long ago.
Because we're old.
Right. That's my point. And you'll see why. So I left after being with him for a few days. I left on Friday, got up, drove to Conway, Arkansas, found out it was a dry county, drove back to Little Rock, then drove back to Conway. I mean, it's a long day. And then the next day, got up in Conway, drove to Amarillo because I wanted to go to the biggest steak restaurant because I ate meat at the time. Right. So I'm like, I got to see this place. And I wanted to see the Cadillac Museum out in the cow pasture with Cadillacs.
Cadillac Ranch,
Yeah. and then got up Sunday morning and left. And now again, Amarillo, Texas, up in the Panhandle, up in the top. So from there, you cross right into New Mexico, into Arizona. Well, once you're in Arizona, you're like, I'm only one state away. And I left at 7 a.m. Amarillo and got home at 11 that night. I stopped. I had something to eat. I got gas. I did, whatever. But I didn't stop and sleep. I don't know that I could do that same exact drive today. I would like to think I could, but that's my only thing about the drives.
Well, let me ask you this. No,
there's a limit.
Let's forget about these last 2 calendar years. On a normal year,
right?
How many dates are you doing for Pioneer DJ?
I average would fly about 40 to 45,000 miles a year. So figure, and a lot of those are West Coast, Midwest gigs, meaning I'm doing up and down the coast. So I'm doing Seattle, I'm going out to Denver, I'm going down to Texas. I stayed with you for a couple of days because I had a gig in Madison, Wisconsin.
You stayed with me for less than 24 hours.
Yeah,
I've seen like a couple of days.
You've been there like more times than.
Well, 2020 hit, and it was the first year I went to Vegas 3 times in 2020. Now you look at that and say, that's pretty good. I look back since 2005, I would go to Vegas about 9 times a year.
Wow.
Now, there's typically
a lot going on.
Yeah, there's typically no rhyme or reason to your tour schedule. I mean,
it's not like can you go to Jimmy's music shop in, whatever, Colorado on Tuesday and show them the new speakers? Yes. Or can you go to Seattle and do this? And I loved it because, again, it was a lot of validation for, what do you do for a living? I'm a DJ. And people tend to look at you and say, oh, I think I told you guys in the chill room, I'll tell this on public. I have a friend who I was his best man in his wedding back in the 80s. He builds guitars, and he's actually the guitar builder / outfit maker and guitar strap builder for Kiss and about 20 other bands. Yeah.
Wow.
I'll even give him a plug, Carlino Guitars. And I saw him 2 weeks ago when I was in Boston for a minute. And he said something about the DJing. And I said, yeah. He goes, can you make a living at that? I said, yeah. He goes, sure. How?
Sure.
I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, like $200-300 a gig? I'm like, what? No. Now, he's in the industry of music. Like, he's partners with Rick Nielsen of Cheap Trick and Mark Slaughter with a company that does Carina Wood. And he's got a bunch of other stuff going on. But I would say he's definitely in the music industry. And he thought DJs only made a couple $100. And I think that perception is out there. So when you talk to somebody who looks at you, who's a lawyer, and your kid goes to school with them, and they go, so what do you do, Jay? Oh, I'm a DJ. Really? A DJ, huh? Yeah. I mean, 20 years ago, they would say, what station are you on?
Right.
Remember? Like, oh, you're a DJ? Oh, on the radio? No.
Right.
And when I would travel, people would look at it like it gave it so much more validation. Like, holy, wait, you're flying to Seattle tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, why? Yeah. Well, because I have to do a DJ thing. Oh.
I'll take calls from potential clients and they'll, ask about a gig and say, look, be happy to hook this up for you. I'm in Vegas right now at a show. Oh, yeah. It's just a shoe-in. It's something stupid like that,
Yeah, well, there's a certain cachet to that because when I was in Boston 2 weeks ago, I had someone call about a wedding. And I said, hey, can I get back to you? Because I'm in Boston right now. I guarantee you I will call you tomorrow. And they were like, Boston? Oh, okay. And boom, booked the gig.
Well, you always mention you're working. It's not.
I'm doing a show in Boston.
I'm doing a show. I'm gigging.
Right.
I've got an event.
Right.
And even my clients, like I got booked at a wedding when I was at the DJ Collective a few weeks ago in Phoenix. And when I text them and said, hey, is there a good time to talk? She's like, right now is great. I said, perfect. I've got a break. I'm in Phoenix. Call them. She's like, you're in Phoenix. What are you doing there? I said, I'm actually doing an event. I'm DJing at an event. And now it's not a lie. You're not making this up. But
Right.
It's funny that I'm going to make this go all the way back to 2009, 2008, when Jonathan and Brian talked about, wouldn't it be great to take over Vegas with DJs and do this DJ takeover, which is happening in February 2022 at the Mex. Worst name of a show ever, considering they're a state away from California, which is a state away from the Mexican border. To call it MEX, I don't know what they were thinking.
Is that really a DJ takeover?
No, what it's become now, Howie, is look, let me show off in what I can do, which is great. But that to me becomes a competitive thing. The DJ takeover was always given to me by Brian as, wouldn't it be great if a guy from East Podunk, wherever, could go home the next week and say, I DJ'd on the Las Vegas Strip. Because this is something that in his or her market is not going to happen. Even if you just hit play. Because let's face it, there's a great poster of a guy sitting in the parking lot at like EDC or Ultra. And it says, if you're a DJ on the top and then underneath, and you have a ticket to Ultra, it doesn't mean you played at Ultra. Because I think DJs, including me, have a bad habit of expanding upon reality. So when they're at a show, they're like, yeah, I'd love to talk, but I'm DJing at EDC. Yeah, you kind of got a ticket and you're just in the crowd. But I get why you would do that, because you want to validate what you do for a living. And that was the genius idea that came from Brian that's still today going, but it's going in a much, much, much different way. Well, what it should be is you're at a show learning and being educated, and the opportunity. And Brian will tell you, I ended up DJing 3 or 4 hours only because other people that signed up didn't show up. And I guarantee, I would bet my life on this, those DJs that didn't show up have never and will never play on the Strip in Las Vegas. So missed opportunity.
Yeah, I would say.
What we're doing is valid. We're actually working on the road,
I mean, we are.
But how he's doing, he's actually got to leave in the morning. And Jay does all the time. And I've done, here and there.
Yeah.
My experience was the Rockville show. I mean, the most recent experience. And basically I was brought in to build, tech, and run a system at this music festival for a client for promotional stuff. And I tell you what was cool about it for me. And it was a marathon gig. I mean, I was gone for a solid week. I had 2 travel days, 1 setup day, and 4 performance days at the show. I also had over a week in the build. But it was so nice to really be appreciated for what you brought to the table.
Yeah, it is.
I think we do things like wedding receptions and bar mitzvahs and quinceañeras and birthday parties and club dates or whatever. And you are there providing a service, but I don't know that the appreciation is there for what you really have, what talents you bring. And I mean, if I were to be candid, that gets to me sometimes. I think to myself, do you really know, how long it's taken me to learn these skills that I'm bringing to the table at this event? And do you really understand that you're actually getting a fantastic value to have me here? They don't know. They don't care. On the other hand, these like professional gigs, outside of the realm of wedding receptions and things, where you're brought in for your talent specifically, and they thank you for them and they appreciate what you do and they compensate you fairly. Oh man, it feels good. It just feels
yeah.
like this validation.
It does. That's why I'll be able to drive all night.
Yeah,
I'll be on such a high. I will be. I'll be in here at 2:00 in the morning, and I'll probably stay till 4, and I still won't be able to fall asleep.
No,
there's a high you get from it. There really is.
It is.
Absolutely. Now, when I did the Rockville gig, I didn't treat it really like any other job. And what I mean by that is, okay, what if I'm dealing with a wedding client? They might come to me and they might say, hey, we'd like to do this thing. And I can say, well, okay, we can do that. But, perhaps you may want to try it like this. I feel like maybe this and this might not be the way to go. If they still insist I do it that way, I'm like, sure, you're in charge. Although I'm being brought in for my talents and my expertise, I'm still not arguing with the client, if that makes any sense. I'm not. I am trying to be as cool and diplomatic as I can, just like I would be with a nervous bride.
Right.
But really, they are. I don't know how to say this. They actually value me more because they've brought me in. So they typically don't argue. If they ask for something, it's usually an opinion. And I try to be real thoughtful about it, give them the best advice I can, and typically they go with it. Like whatever it happens to be, there's no question.
But you're perceived as the expert that you are at every event you do.
Right.
And they're actually doing it. I oftentimes, same thing, show up at a gig and be like, people are like, oh my God, I'm so stoked to have you here. We got 200 people, this and that. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Oh no, they can't wait. Oh, and I walk in and like, I know a quarter of the crowd, like genuinely by face, know that.
Right.
And then there's a bunch of other people. Oh man, I watch your videos. I sent a thing out, and I'll say it online. I sent a message out to John Young, and it was after Vegas, after Wedding MBA, because November I did Wedding MBA, and then I immediately went out to Phoenix to do a show called the DJ Collective. Came home for a week, and then I went to Boston on my own, but happened to be there when Howie and John C. and everyone was there for this like Harvest Festival shootout, whatever it was called. And I sent John a private message, and I said, I just want you to know something. I oftentimes get pulled aside and go like, hey man, love your stuff online, love this, love that. Great, thank you, appreciate it. I was shocked how many people came up to me at Wedding MBA and said, man, your Tuesday night show with Brannan and Howie, I love that. I seriously tune in all the time, watch every video. So there is an impact, and we don't often hear it or see it.
Yeah.
But there's definitely an impact. And it's when you hear it after the fact, it doesn't matter how much work you had to do, it makes up for all of it. I never look back and go like, man, I got to do this, and I'm in this hotel, and I got to do that. And it's, wow, to know that, because all of this comes down to what you do, Brian, what you do, Howie, and what I do. And what we do genuinely is try to help people. Well, like, I've never done a show without trying to help.
And I got, to take off on what you said, that nice surprise when you showed up on camera in Boston and Brian was holding down the fort because he had a solid internet. Thank you so much for that. Oh. I mean, that show got a lot of views. I could not believe it. And the compliments that we were getting, and it was like, yeah, you guys, you got some kind of chemistry or whatever. And it's not hard sell and do this, do that. There's I got invited out tonight for drinks. My wife's like, what time can you go? I'm like, 8. She's like, 8? I said, I have the Tuesday night show at 7. I think I've missed one. And I can't remember what show. I think it was Expo. I blew off Expo for whatever was going on. But other than that, I mean, this has been over 2 years. You were out to dinner with the guys from Japan.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah, and
But
you
other
couldn't
than
help
that,
it.
I mean, this is,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know Howie's deal. I don't know Brian's deal. I'm making millions, so it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to make sure I'm here because the agent says,
Well,
show up or don't get paid.
despite making the millions, what's impressive and what I wanted to kind of say in my last part, I don't know that I expressed it well enough, is that, although you're making millions, you're leaving your ego at the door. And that is,
That's true.
I think,
Try.
such an important part of
I try.
doing these, I guess, bigger jobs or these more demanding jobs where, they really need you. They don't need a warm body to fill a spot. Like,
Right.
let's be honest, to coin a phrase that Jay uses.
I've never heard that expression. I'm
Sometimes
gonna use that.
a warm body is all it takes. If we're talking about a bar gig or something, you press play and whatever, who cares? This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being the person who's there and can make decisions, can make judgment calls, can make repairs, fixes, observe what's going on and fix problems and make it right. I mean, you do all of these things, but you do it nice.
I can always learn from everyone around me. I don't know the most in the room. And I genuinely, going back to when I was a teenager and even younger, through, rest in peace, both of my amazing parents, I have always strived to try to be more helpful and try to leave situations. The expression that I've taught my children that I try to live by is leave things better than you find them.
Yeah.
And I think in the realm of being DJs, it's, you know what? I'm very fortunate. I work with a company that's well regarded in the industry and I have a lot of equipment. So when someone comes to me and says, hey, I've got this thing and I can't figure it out, can you help me? I usually can. When I look at my YouTube channel, the videos that have the most views are the ones on how to do. They're almost all titled, how to do this, how to do that. They're all, and I'll be honest, I'll be upfront. I credit Brian S. Red with a lot of that because when I went to him at Mobile Beat 2012 in front of the Riviera with a plaid shirt on and we shot a video, and Jose was there, BBW Jose / Crossfader Jose.
Yeah.
And I said, I really want to make a go at this YouTube thing. What do you think? He's like, make a decision right now. Are you there to help people or are you there to show off? I'm like, well, I'd like to help people. He's like, then help. And about 6 months later, I called him and I said, hey, I got an idea. I'm driving to a gig on a Sunday. And it's the first video I ever did on this topic. I said, I got an idea. I said, people don't watch very long. What do you think about this? DJ tips in under a minute. And he goes, yeah, make that your thing. And I've done 290 of them. But it was based on us talking about what's your end game? What's the end goal?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'd like to help people because if I give someone advice that helps them, maybe they'll give me advice that helps me.
Right.
I'll bet your number one video in under a minute is how do I delete a song permanently from Serato?
Yeah, probably.
I get that because I get that question and I put a link to your video.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's but the thing is, I will never stop. I'm too old now to change.
Right.
If you help people, they will ultimately help you or someone else will.
It always comes back. It always comes back. Yeah.
You want to come at it as a helper. And I mean, I'm thinking back to my experience last month. It was how do I say this? It shouldn't have been a high stress situation, but there were times when it was. And a lot of that had to do with what other people's visions were, much like at any other type of event you do, like a wedding reception or a quinceañera or a bar mitzvah or whatever, where the client is thinking one thing and you're trying to make their vision happen, but you know that it would be much better if it was this other way. So you try it their way and it doesn't work. even despite your, best advice that you've given the client to not go that way, they're still going that way. And then they come up to you and say, well, this isn't working. At that point, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I could blast them and say, well, this would be fine if you weren't so stupid and made me do it this way that didn't work. But you got to take it back. I mean, you're stressed, they're stressed, everybody's stressed. Take it back and say, well, as I, suggested earlier, maybe we could try this other way. Would you like to give that a shot?
Yeah.
Make it their choice. Make it sound like it's something they want to do. Don't, be the bossy one. You just really throw the suggestions out there and let them do with it what they will. That's how I've tried to treat people on the road. It's really not much different than a regular gig. Yeah. However, what is different is at the end of it, I feel like you're being appreciated more than you're being thanked. But that's exactly why they brought you in the first place, because you were the one who could make it happen. Despite
Brian, I think you, me, and Howie have the same sort of, basic kind of thought. Excuse me.
Understand.
Thought process, and that is simply, I don't care if I'm right.
Yeah,
I really don't. Like, well, I don't get off on being right at the end of the day going,
correct.
Oh, I was right. I told them. Like, I don't really give an S if I'm right or wrong. I just know that what I know and what I've seen over time is going to do this. Right. I don't need to be CEO. I'm I don't need to be the general.
Right.
I'm fine being the captain. Or even the lieutenant.
Because, soldier is what I call myself. I'm always a soldier.
I'm good with knowing that if I go in and do this, this, and this, it'll all work out fine. I just got to hit today for a gig in March. And it's like 1,000 people outside in this downtown area of San Diego. I'm like, what are you looking for? He's like, oh, no, I'm calling you because you'll take care of it. And that was the end of the discussion. I was like, I'm available for the date. I'm good. Like, there's no more discussion because they know me well enough to know you'll show up and do exactly what they need because you don't have an ego too big to take over and say, well, you really should like this new song. No. We are soldiers, as you said, Brian. Our job is to come into the room and do what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
My ego doesn't get in the way of that. My ego is in the car driving home where I go, right. I killed it.
I think you're right. Us three at least, we leave our egos at the door. And I did not make this up. I read this many years ago that if you can make the client feel like it's their idea,
right,
even though it's yours,
exactly.
They feel like $1 million. The event goes off well. You don't have to take credit for it. All you do is go home on that high of
I did it.
At least let them feel like they ultimately made the call.
Right.
Yes.
So it's not a matter of I saved the gig. It's a matter of we could do this, but you could do this. I'd highly recommend you do this. But whatever you want to do, well, yeah, let's do what you think. Cool, and you do it. That way, it was ultimately their choice. If they chose to ignore your professional opinion and advice, and you're getting paid to give your, you bring your expertise to the table. If they choose to ignore that, that is on them.
Right. What do we always talk about? A DJ's job is to read the room.
Right. But we gotta make the best of that too.
Right.
So if they make a call that's kind of against what we felt like was the best way to go, we still got to do with a smile and try to make it work. I mean, it's just part of the job.
There's a lot of what we do is customer service, and I don't think anyone ever talks about it. Nor do people ever stop to realize you might be a great DJ. You might do the best mixes, quick mix. You can do this. You can play this. You can play that. You're amazing. But when you're dealing with people, that's first and foremost your job. And I think too often we forget that. And I think you need to scope everything out and realize it's not a us against them. It's us helping them to end up where they wanted to end up.
Yeah.
We are there to help guide them a little bit in the direction of,
Mhm.
well, you want to go left. I know we should go right. So as much as I'm going to help you go left, I'm going to push you a little to the center and then a little to the right. And I often tell people when they come up and go, bride and groom pick all this music. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Because it's not my job to take the shine of like, are you kidding?
Sure.
This is on me, dude. Here's my card. Like, hire me. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
It will come out in the wash because when they go to the bride and groom and go, man, I can't believe the songs you picked. What? We didn't pick anything. No, that was all on Jay. Oh my God, do you have his number?
Yeah.
Like that's when it comes back. Like I think if you know, I watch a lot of YouTube guys, no names, guys that swear from New Jersey. And it kind of shocks me sometimes the way they it's all about me, and I'm gonna. There is no I at a wedding. There is a there might be an I of I'm going to do the best job I can, but your vision of the night is what dictates where things go until your vision doesn't work. And then you've hired me to take over.
Well, you know, there's
customer service.
There's a reason that I get some of these things thrown at me once in a while. It's not from lack of experience. Let's just put it that way. So,
Right.
you know, the cool thing about what we do is we're not like the aging rock star. We're more of this season, you know, journeyman, which is nice.
Exactly.
And in the more experience that we have in things, you know, the more we can bring to the table. I mean, there are so many times that you go to these shows and there's, you know, a young act. You'll see seasoned guys in the wings. They're there for a reason. They've got the experience. And experience isn't something that you can buy. This is something that you earn. And it's kind of the cool part about you know, staying relevant, being current, you know, not you know, living in the past kind of thing. Always learning, always listening, never knowing every freaking thing. It's nice. I like that part of the job.
It is. And that's one of the reasons I watch all the award shows and so forth. For my particular niche is like, you know, what are the trending colors and looks that they're going for a stage look. And I'm like, hey, you know, I have some really cool stuff from Pink Floyd, but that's not in style right now. You know, they're going for the prism and they want that rotating, and I have to learn how to do that. So I did. And look at there, Jay's. He's got the hypnotic going. See, I remember the name of that 20-year-old fixture.
Well, actually, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not a light. This just happened earlier. I think it's a excuse me, kind of a space-time continuum has opened up.
Oh, okay.
George Carlin's going to come through in a phone booth any minute now.
Yeah, that's my fear. No, so I'm just ignoring.
He's getting prepared. He's getting prepared for the Matrix on Christmas, and he's trying to decide between the red pill or the blue pill.
I think George Carlin is going to visit future Ted.
Yeah, there it is.
Is what's happening.
This will be my new logo. There it is. Everybody, thank you. Good night.
So the last thing
I take a lot of pride in, like, even like you, Brian, Howie, like, what do you need? Latin for 5 hours. I got you. What do you need? Disco. I got you. What do you need? 80s. I got you. Like, I take so much pride in not being pigeonholed.
Well,
I appreciate.
You know what I take pride in? I take pride in not knowing everything. A lot of people think, "Oh, you're brilliant. You know everything." I don't. But I know the people that do.
Right.
And when I got that, like, 2 lines of like looked like code to me, and hey man, can you do this show? And I was like, hey Jimmy, help, you know. And I said, I need this to be as friendly as possible for pickup guys that are going to be roadies. They're not professional, you know. Some are volunteers, so Jimmy went in and we worked on this for an hour or so, and we actually made a picture of each fixture. so that it's a visual for that inexperienced person. Say, oh, this is what it looks like. And they, put it here, put it there, and then things will work out. Things will work out fine. And
it's okay to say you don't know too.
It's a collaboration. It really is okay. I don't, I have no problem asking for help.
Or if somebody asks you a question about something, and this happened, a couple times where, they would ask me a question. I was like, I don't know, but let's find out.
Yeah, let's find out.
I don't know.
That one night, that guy got blindsided, and you brought me in on the messenger chat, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, the client changed their mind and they want a remote speaker somewhere, and it's too late for me to buy one and get one shipped in. How long will the Omars last? Will it last long enough?" And I said, hang on. I plugged in my 2-way and we plugged it in. I said, we stayed with him. I said, it went 2.5 hours. He went, okay, great. Yeah. He had an Omar's. He got the job done. And then he went out and he bought a proper speaker. But the thing is, he completed the mission. Yeah. And he completed the mission because we collaborated freely. Right, sure. We didn't charge him a freaking dime. We're just happy that he could do it.
There's a lot of business now that it goes above and beyond being a DJ, and I'll just say it. There are a lot of famous DJs in our industry, and they couldn't mix their way out of a paper bag. Oh, because that's not what's important to them. They're not, as I say, they're wedding entertainers who play music. Yeah, they're not DJs. Someday I will retire, and when people come up to me and they go, "Hey, what's going on?" "Oh, yeah, I'm not working right now." "Well, you retired?" "Well, no, I'm just not working." "Well, I don't understand. You retired from your job." "I didn't have a job. I'm a DJ. Right. Yeah. I can't retire from being a DJ. I can just not play anymore." That's the difference. When what you do is what you are, you can't leave that. You just don't do it anymore.
Right.
When I was a paid assassin and I quit,
stop.
That's right. We're not talking about that on the air. Sorry.
Yeah. Let me get a couple things in before you riff too much.
Put the commercial up quickly. Brought to you by Glock.
Yeah. So and not to pat us old guys on the back too much, but I think something that comes with age and with experience is that you're okay admitting that you don't know something. You don't just go out there and say you do when you don't. I had that problem with my son-in-law recently. When I say recently, again, it's relative. It was a few years ago, where he would just say he knew how to do these things that he clearly didn't know how to do. And he would get in over his head and he would make the problem worse. So I had to have the conversation with him. I'm like, look, it's okay to not know.
It really is.
Okay. It doesn't make you look bad for saying, I don't know. It makes you look bad for saying you know, and then you screw it up. That's what makes you look bad.
True.
So don't feel like you have to put on this persona of I know everything. Stop doing that.
People do that though, Brian. That's inherent with being.
It is. But 20 I feel like we get better at it as we get older.
Oh, we do. But that's the beauty of doing what we do. And I try to instill this in old and young DJs all the time. You guys realize that with each passing year, it gets better, not worse. Because guess what?
Yeah.
I'm playing I did a bar mitzvah. That's a celebration of a young Jewish man at 13. I was the DJ that the family hired.
Isn't that weird?
2 weeks ago. You know why they hired me? Because I did their 15-year-old son's bar mitzvah 2 years ago.
And you look like Neo.
Me.
Who's premiering midnight Pacific time tonight on HBO Max.
Oh, is it? I gotta dye the beard. I gotta cut and dye the beard. But dude, this is the beauty of it.
Morning time. You're gonna be a rock star when you go to.
I try.
Do I don't know, whatever you do in the morning.
I'm gonna start doing the dyeing of the hair.
So
I leave, but that's the thing. I walk out of the gig and I was so proud of myself. I was so happy that I can go do a wedding and kill it. I can go do a 75th birthday party and kill it. I can do a 50th anniversary and kill it. And I can do a 13-year-old's party. And not once did I not have the music they asked for. And that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing.
No, you're
Because
so
when
relevant.
The family
Yeah.
came to me, when the dad's from South Africa, he goes, I don't know if you know who Sugar Man is. And I'm like, oh yeah. I've seen
Yeah.
the documentary and I've got
Sure, I
Rodriguez's
didn't know who
track.
he was, but now I do.
Now
I
I
saw-
do.
I saw
But I
it.
didn't
That
bother
was
to tell him
good.
that. I just said, oh yeah, do you want to hear Sugar
Detroit,
Man? You want to
yeah.
hear like Make a
Yeah.
Choice? Like Rodriguez? Like I got him. Like
Right.
I'm on that. He goes, oh, that would be awesome. He walked in the room with his son. Boom, I Am Sugar Man gets played. He walks
Yeah.
over and he goes, oh, Jay, so great to see you again. Oh, I can't believe you're playing this. It's like, I go to the lowest like hanging fruit,
Sure.
but also what's actually going to make the night memorable because it's your son's night, but you're just walking in without all the kids. Boom, you get hooked up. When the mom wanted to hear like 90s hip hop and she walks up and she goes, what do you think about switching? And with a move of a crossfader, she hears like, you can do it, put your back into it. And I'm playing Ice Cube. And she's like, whoosh, right to the dance floor. She came up at the end of the night, to their credit, and said, I almost wish we had more children because I miss not having you guys around to the MC and I. And I was like, well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. We've made their life better. Now, maybe
Yeah.
we get hired for more of these. Because when you
Jay,
think bar mitzvah,
I do
Before-
have I have a question for you, Jay.
yes, sir.
You did that proud dad moment. Your son's studying to be a commercial pilot now, and he did his, touch and goes. And I'm just wondering if, you're going to be that guy like, oh yeah, I got my own pilot now. Yeah, I'll be
Well,
there.
I posted that on Friday, I think, when he did his first solo flight from one airport.
I thought that was awesome.
My wife and I were out today with the dog at a park, and my wife looks up and says, I wonder if that's Connor. And I go, oh, and I went to film it and I didn't. Here's the weird reality of becoming a pilot. Not only did he do his first solo in the same airport last week, today he flew to 3 airports, landed and took off immediately. They call it touch and goes.
Touch and go. Yeah.
3 different airports, and we were standing with the dog and saw him fly over us because 20 minutes later he goes, hey, just landed in Fallbrook. I went over to Temecula on the west side. I'm like, wait, that's where we were. I go, do you think he went in this line? He goes, well, from Hemet I went here to here. And I'm like, and again, it's the scariest thing, but it's the proudest thing of like 2 months ago, you talked about it. Now you're physically flying alone. Like, should I be scared or should I just be immensely overwhelmed and proud? And I chose the latter.
Well, to go full circle, when you said, oh, yes, I was up in Seattle and I had to go down to Phoenix, I'm thinking,
oh, he could do all this.
You could be like, hey, Connor, I need to be in 3 places at one time. Can you be my personal pilot? How cool is that going to be to
And all
have
you
your
need is the
son
plane.
drive you?
I need the gas and the rental. And he said the plane he flies now will do 600 miles between 0 and Phil.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
So
Excellent.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a proud dad moment. And it's,
Yeah.
and I would have loved them to go into music, but it was never their passion. It's been my passion from the time my parents at 6 years old gave me this little red AM radio. And I went to WRKO in Boston, AM, and I would hear, Marvin Gaye and Derek and the Dominoes and the Stones and the Doors and Aretha Franklin. And I've never looked back. So it's been 51 years of knowing that this was it, the Partridge Family, and whatever else would come up.
So before we run out of time, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about on our topic. And because we only got a few more minutes. Yeah.
Sorry.
I know we it's okay. It's all good. There's just one more point I wanted to hit. Howie brought it up early in the show. I kind of said, let's hang on to that one and keep it for a minute. Okay. So I wanted to bring it back around because we only have just a couple minutes left. But it's been my experience that when we are doing some of these, let's just call them, I don't know, when we're working for a corporate client and the design process and all this. There are a couple different tasks that you're doing. I know the gig I did last month, there was the task of designing a system, and I had to build it, like physically build it.
Oh yeah, you were super involved.
All that.
Like you went beginning to end. Kind of,
right. Then I had to tech it.
Yeah.
So I was trying to show people how it worked and how to troubleshoot it and things like that. Ultimately, I ended up running it. So I was performing too. That's 4 separate tasks. And when you're playing in this ballpark, I guess, when you're dealing with these types of clients and they have deep pockets that they have, you don't necessarily need to go at them with this wholesale discount mentality. And I brought this up, and Howie took my advice on this and on his gig that he's doing here.
Yep.
I essentially got recognized and paid for all 4 of those things. Now, granted, 2 of them were kind of combined into one. The design and build, we combined them into one, but it was hourly. We figured it hourly, and we just kind of guessed how much time it took. I didn't, rigidly keep track of my time, but I knew how long it took. And my client was more than fair in compensating me for my time on that. Then there was a fee for teching it. There was a tech fee. It was a daily tech fee. It didn't matter if I was there for an hour or if I was there for 12 hours. It was a daily tech fee that I got. And then there was also the performance fee. So it was incredibly lucrative for me. And I look forward to doing more work like this if it were to come up.
Awesome.
But it's just one of those things that I just wanted to throw out there. I don't know how many made it this far into the show, but if you get in a position like this someday, just don't sell yourself short.
No.
And make sure that you are being fairly compensated for all that you are bringing to the table. Right. And break it down if you have to. So
could they do the event
I guess.
without you?
No.
There you go. Could they do it without you? No.
Well,
okay. Well, guess what? Then you're very valuable.
That is for them to realize.
Well, and they will.
I feel like, we could walk in with the ego saying they couldn't do this without me, but
no.
When they realize it,
right? I mean, at the other side, like for your own negotiation skill or setup. Look at it from the perspective of they
but
can't do this without
Brian
me.
nor I sought this out. They came to us.
Well,
and we were like,
they came to Jay too. I mean,
here's the price, and okay, no problem.
We did a gig in New York City
called
DJ Con, and we had to stay at the Marriott on 42nd Street. And I was with 3 people from Pioneer DJ who were all under 35. And we're walking through this little exhibit thing. It's a 1-day show. And the comment was made by the youngest, "Hey man, this is crazy. Like, this is totally not your scene. You're like a wedding DJ." And with that statement, around the corner came a guy named DJ Jazzy J from Africa Bambaataa.
Yeah.
And he yelled out, "Oh, my something word,"
guy,
and ran over and gave me a big hug.
Yeah.
And then we walked 10 more feet, and there was Keith Shockley of the Bomb Squad, Public Enemy, who said, "Yo, what up,
guy?" and
gave me a hug. And I turned around and looked at the 3 guys with me, and I said, "Fuck you."
Yeah, I'm a wedding DJ.
I said, "So much for weddings, huh?" And I went over and did my thing, and they all looked at me like, and I'm like, this is the point that you need to understand, guys. I show up at these shows, and I'm genuinely respectful, kind, and professional. So therefore, when I see these gentlemen again, they only remember that's the guy that I worked with who was kind, respectful, and professional.
And everyone knew him. And
I like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On that note, Howie, I'm urging you to get some rest.
Yeah, please get some sleep.
I am. I gotta light out of here after the show's over.
What's cool about it is even if you're rested and you really can't sleep, you can just lay there
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
watch, you know, whatever you want or do whatever. Just lay there, relax.
I'm going to put the
Zen
science
time.
channel on. Does that surprise you?
No. No. Zen time. Just chill.
You're gonna do the Science Channel? I'm suddenly hearing like Bloodhound Gang in my head.
No, the science channel where they talk science. Yeah.
I go to sleep to hot rod stuff. Sometimes
And sometimes I do that. Motor Trend TV, but yeah, you're
I
right.
usually hot rod stuff. Get my mind on something else and
Yep.
crash.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And I'll be seeing colors.
Everyone will be
It's a
seeing
rainbow.
colors.
Yes,
It's a
rainbow. Colors.
Just so it's not from like scurvy.
Colors.
Yeah.
I'm like oh wait, I went right to the movie. See? I'm a DJ. I went to the
Stroke
music.
or something. Yeah.
I went right to the Ice-T song, Colors.
All right,
From
folks.
the movie Colors.
Have a great Valentine's Day or whatever your next holiday is.
Whenever you see this, if it's
Whenever
happy
you see
4th
this.
of July, everybody.
For us, it's Christmas. But
Yes.
for you, perhaps like Jason, it's Arbor Days. So thank you
Could
for
be.
watching.
Could be.
See you next time.
Good night, everybody.
Cheers, everyone.